that has an outstanding amount of data about 284 million of persons in the US, and that provides services to, this company provides services to politics parties, to the political action committees, in order to target with extreme laser focus precision messages to the electorate, and then track in real time their behavior. So not only sending the messages, but also tracking in real time their behavior to see, and with the aid of artificial intelligence, be able to track this person and adapt the messages until this person is aligned with the intended candidate. So my question to you now is, do you feel that disinformation, misinformation has played a role in the recent elections? And is this a phenomenon that is characteristic of the digital era? We used to know that we had a huge control of the traditional media, and now we have a control of algorithms and data. How do you see these things playing in the information and the campaigning before elections? You're muted.
First, let me thank you for letting me join and say hello to everybody. A warm greetings from Baku. Of course, we're in a period of incredible manipulation. And I think what's characteristic of it is manipulation that almost none of us can understand. You, Stefano, understand it because this is your expertise. But for those of us living in this new digital surveillance, manipulation, social media world, we're only very dimly aware of how any of this works. And of course, we don't have any public scrutiny of this other than what independent thinkers or scholars may write. But the businesses that are in this business cheat, are secretive about what they're doing. Absolutely. We've had scandal after scandal. We don't really understand how the data are used and manipulated or where they even come from. And as you and others have explained to me, every keystroke that we make on our phones or our computers is now recorded by somebody and used by somebody or sold by somebody. And take into account, of course, that in the current election round in the United States, $16 billion was spent, 16 billion, most of which came from very, very rich people who were aligned on both sides of the parties, which does not make too much of a difference. There were the billionaires for Trump. There were the billionaires for Harris. They were using this kind of surveillance, and we'll never understand it. And I will give you a very loose analogy because I think it's characteristic of the age that we're in. Almost every advanced technology is now in the hands of a very few people and a very few companies with very, very little public understanding or political scrutiny or regulation. And you know that I headed a commission about COVID, where I reached the conclusion that COVID came out of laboratory research in the United States, and probably in a partnership with the Chinese scientists, but it's a manipulated virus. Many people believe this. I happen now to have been deeply steeped in it for several years. And my feeling is it came out of a laboratory and that this is kept secret by the US intelligence agencies and others who know it. It sounds a little crazy maybe, but it's actually a very significant amount of information because of things that have been leaked, people that have posted documents on Department of Defense websites, testimony by some people to the U.S. Congress in one single investigation. Well, I raise all of this not to relive the COVID debate, but just to say that the advanced biotechnology of creating viruses is understood by a very small group of people. The US government funds it secretly. It's part of our so-called biodefense program. The Department of Defense is engaged, National Institutes of Health. And when the outbreak was investigated, who investigated it? The CIA. And what results did they release? 2 pages. That's it. 2 pages. They told us it was inconclusive evidence where this came from. 2 pages from the US government. So this is a general problem, Stefano, which is that we're at the cutting edge of technology in many areas, in artificial intelligence, in surveillance, in computation, in social manipulation by social media, but very professionally done with the kind of monitoring you're discussing. And whether it's to addict us or to get us to vote in a particular way or to get us to buy products or to get us to believe certain things on the mass media. This is happening. I'll just give you one more example. You know, I've been a critic of NATO and of the Ukraine war. Somebody told me last week that they posted one of my academic speeches on their Facebook website, and that their website was closed down for violating community standards from a speech I gave at a university. So, yes, this is manipulation. It's extremely dangerous. It is backed by very big money. And incidentally, the billionaires, the top richest 10 people in the world, had capital gains of about $60 billion in the 3 days after Trump's election. So it also has a good rate of return, it seems to me. So I'm counting on you to explain all of this because I can't explain it.
Yeah. Thank you, Josh. A second question. I think it's something that occurred to me when I was thinking about what I could ask to you, and it's something outside what we have spoken today. You know, there is a huge debate in Italy, but I think it's not only in Italy. We've seen it in the campaign, as a topic in the campaign in the US as well. The fear of immigration. The fear of immigration is something that I believe is now widespread in the Western world, let's say. And one of the reasons, I think, it's because people fear that immigrants can steal their jobs based on a race to the bottom in salaries, etc. While on the other hand, nobody's paying really care to the possibility of having AI stealing the jobs, right? So everybody's very much concerned about the immigrant stealing the job and not of AI stealing the job. And seeing and the first, I mean, the tension against immigration is very high, and it shapes politics. The other one doesn't. What's your feeling about the impact of immigration and how this relates to the debate about the impact of digital technologies on democracies and
Well, thanks. Let me actually take up the AI and jobs issue because I have been studying it for the last 10 years. It's not only real, it's very significant, and it's going to get very much more significant in the coming 20 years. If anyone says it's got a small effect, they don't understand what's been happening in the economy already for the last 25 years, and what is going to happen now with this dramatic acceleration of the machine learning, AI, robotics, and other related technologies. The fact of the matter is there has been a tremendous amount of automation and job loss over the last 50 years in the goods producing sectors of all our economies.
And compression of salaries, not only job loss, compression of salaries, which I think
yes.
is more
So
significant.
just to say that we have four goods producing sectors: agriculture, mining, construction, and manufacturing. They now constitute in the United States about 10% of the total employment, maybe about 12%. Of course, it used to be 90% in the beginning of the 19th century, and half the population worked in agriculture until 150 years ago in the U.S., probably 100 years ago in Italy. The machinery that mechanized agriculture led to a dramatic decline of employment in agriculture. Many Italian people in the countryside moved to the United States in that period 100 years ago. In the period after World War II, the assembly lines, starting in the 1960s and 70s, became automated progressively. And any of you, and I'm sure it's most of you, who have walked through the shop floor of an automobile assembly plant knows there are no people in them anymore. There literally are long space distances where there are no people in a Toyota plant or a Ford plant anymore. It's all robotics. It's self-driving vehicles throughout the shop floor, bringing parts to the robots that are assembling the automobiles. Okay, what we saw as a result of this was a tumbling of jobs in manufacturing from about 19 million in the United States to 13 million over the last 35 years. And this led to the disappearance of good jobs for high school graduates who used to go to the assembly line to work and now can't find a good job on an assembly line, and ended up by and large in the service sector with compressed wages, like you say. And so the income distribution shifted tremendously from high school graduates to professionals and to capital, to the owners of the robots and so on. Now, that process is one of the major sociological factors that led to Mr. Trump, for example. Who are his constituents? His constituents that vote for him are the high school graduates. His backers are the multi-billionaires, by the way. I don't think Trump is going to do anything for the high school graduates. He says he's going to put trade protection on against China, but China's not the reason why these high school graduates don't have their manufacturing jobs, even though Trump may believe it is. The reason is the robots, not the Chinese. So it's just like you say, we have a China fear, but it's not China. It's robots on the assembly line that did this. Now comes AI and humanoid robots, and they are going to do a lot of work. They're going to do routinized service economy work. It's, of course, happening all over the place already. Think of what travel agents or others do. I mean, there are 1,000 examples. And what this means is that there's going to be a further shift of, first of all, a loss of jobs, a further shift of income distribution to the owners of the capital and the AI systems. You know, consider Elon Musk, who, is our biggest inventor, no doubt a genius, but at the same time, he just basically bought ownership of the U.S. political system for a pittance. He's made probably 30 or 40 billion dollars of capital gains, or maybe even more, in the last few days. He's now valued at about $310 billion as of yesterday. Maybe it's gone up again. He is quite possibly going to be the first $1 trillion net worth individual in the world. And the politics go along with this, because it was in this election really Silicon Valley venture capitalists and technologists that were the big backers of Donald Trump, and then using the kind of machinery that you discussed, the AI, to get him elected. But what's going to happen to incomes? Well, if a humanoid robot, one of his Optimus robots, can be a receptionist, or can be a warehouse operator, taking the jobs away from the people that have them right now, that robot will cost, according to Elon Musk, $25,000 or $30,000 in the next few years. It will get a PhD level education in 3 or 4 hours of programming. It won't have to go through 25 years of upbringing and go through 25 years of schooling to get advanced degrees. And who owns that system will own the economy and will control our politics. It's possible that this becomes owned democratically. It's possible because one could imagine that this vast wealth that's being created is shared so that everybody gets an income grant, everybody is guaranteed leisure time, everybody is guaranteed services at very low cost, and so on. Or it could be that this leads to a massive further concentration of wealth and power in the world. The way we're going, it's the second option, really the dystopian option. Especially in the United States, it's not a coincidence, but the billionaires that are 100 billion plus are libertarians. They say no government. Elon Musk wasn't tasked by Trump to ask, how can we ensure the benefits of your technologies reach everybody? He was tasked with cutting $2 trillion from the public sector. This is a big difference. I'm not for waste in government, but frankly, the questions we need to ask are, how can we have a fair society? How can we not be dominated by either government surveillance or corporate surveillance? How do we escape manipulation, addiction, loss of employment, loss of income, spreading inequalities with these extraordinarily powerful technologies? I believe in technology as the most important force for economic progress, so I'm not an anti-technologist. I'm just very much aware that the single greatest inequality in the world is not income, it's not even wealth, it is the understanding of cutting-edge technologies and the power that they give. So, of course, in England in 1605, Francis Bacon, who is in a way the inventor of the modern world because he came up with the modern scientific method and the idea of science as the basis of state power, he, of course, coined the expression, knowledge is power. And it's never been more true than now. And that knowledge is in extremely few hands. You know, but I don't know what Meta is doing, what any of these companies is really doing. We don't know in the public, and we are therefore at their mercy for the moment.
Thank you, Professor Sachs. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. Thanks for the chance. Bye-bye.